What's happening, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Adam, this is Vancity Audi, and in this video I'm going to be covering all the goods, the bads, the pros, and the cons of Integrated Engineering's Stage 1 tune for the B9 S4. Now, the majority of my feedback is going to come from my time on the Stage 1 E85 file. That is by far the longest period of time that I've spent on any of their calibrations. I spent a little bit of time on pump gas using their 91 file, their 93 file. I think for a millisecond I used E40 and then I jumped over to E85 and I've been using that ever since. So we'll start off this video with the cons right off the get-go. So I'm starting off with the cons instead of with the pros, mainly because I think people want to hear what I don't like about the tune more than what I do. That's just what I've taken from the comments and from people mentioning things about these reviews. I think people want to know what I don't like. So the first thing, it's freaking awful. The gas mileage. I was really surprised and really taken back with what crap gas mileage I've got on this car. Stage 1 E85. City driving, no real highway driving. I changed jobs a few months back. I'm not doing a mix of highway and city driving now. It's just city. I average between 14.5 and 16 miles per gallon. That is freaking terrible. I'm filling up all the time. It sucks. But I did do a road trip, about a 3.5-hour road trip east to a town called, or a city called Kelowna, to visit the guys over at Audi Kelowna to be a part of a car show. And during that road trip, I managed 23.5 miles per gallon. It clicked over to 24 for a little bit, but back down. So 23.5 miles per gallon on the freeway and about 14.5, 16 miles per gallon in the city. If you combine those, I want to say it's probably at about 18 to 19 miles per gallon. So not horrendously bad. I'm just feeling it more than normal because all I do is city drive now. So the mileage I've got is pretty bad. So the next con that I deal with might not be important to everybody, but it's important to me, and because of that, I'm sharing it with you guys. Now, I drag race this car as much as humanly possible because that's what I'm about, going as fast as I possibly can in my Audis, including my daily driver. And you may not notice it as a daily driver, someone that rips around. If you're not drag racing, this won't affect you at all. You won't care, but I'm doing my part by stating the things that I haven't enjoyed as well as the stuff that I have enjoyed. And that is when I drag race the vehicle and I launch the car from a standstill, when I get to 4th gear, the car falls out of AMAX mode. Now, for those of you that don't know what that means, it's basically you're utilizing maximum acceleration out of your vehicle. And through the gear changes, there's no reduction of torque. And how you can tell whether your car is in AMAX mode or not is by logging it. The second way is you can hear it. Now, something came up in one of my recent videos when we installed the mid pipes. I have Integrated Engineering mid pipes that we installed a little while ago, and I did a before and after sound clip for you guys so you could hear the difference in what it made. And a lot of people were taken back because after I installed those mid pipes, they lost the farts on gear changes when you shift gears. So I need to share with you guys, like I did and everybody in the comment section, the only reason that took place was on that particular run, my car wasn't in AMAX mode. Maybe I didn't hold down launch control long enough. I'm not too sure what it was, but normally it works totally fine and then it drops out in 4th gear for whatever reason. I don't know why. I've logged the car multiple times. I've sent that all into Integrated Engineering. They are aware of it and they're working on it. So I don't think it's gonna be something that lasts forever or a long time for that matter, but that for me is important because I'm trying to go as quick as I humanly can in this car in the quarter mile. And if I wanna go as quick as I can, I need AMAX mode enabled for every single gear. So randomly every now and then on that video that you saw of the mid-pipe install, it wasn't in AMAX for the entire run. So my first run without the mid-pipes installed, OEM mid-pipes, the car wasn't in AMAX mode. And it did that fart, that gear change, every time you shift gears. Then then when I installed the part and I launched the car, it was in AMAX mode. So there were no gear change farts. Nothing changed on the car other than the mid pipes. It's just that the car did go in AMAX mode once I had the mid pipes installed, and it wasn't in AMAX mode when I didn't have the mid pipes installed. So again, that might not be the biggest thing to everybody. Not everybody is using their car to go as quick as they can in the quarter mile. But for me, I am. So I'm trying to do my due diligence, be honest with you guys, be as transparent as I can, and let you know that that's something that I haven't enjoyed. But the good news is those are the only two things that I have not enjoyed with my experience on this software in my B9 S4. So the first pro I'm gonna discuss with you guys is the drivability. The car is a night and day difference from a stock OEM untouched ECU compared to the integrated engineering stage 1 tune. Ooh, got some windy roads, this is fun. It's totally different. The car handles much more precise, we'll say. The throttle response is so much better. I don't know if you guys watched my review of my first 5,000 miles in this vehicle. If you haven't, I encourage you to check it out. I'll put the link in the description below. But now, the throttle response is excellent. I lay into the throttle, it's a downshift and you go. I'm in drive right now. Before, I would have to put a lot of pressure on that gas pedal before it would downshift and go. IE has spent the time to calibrate that throttle response, the throttle position, to tell the car when to downshift, and it is much more effective now and much more comfortable to drive. When you want power, when you want acceleration, you put your foot down gently and it goes. When you want as much power as you can, you floor it. It's a much quicker response now, and that drivability is a big thing for most people because you daily drive your vehicle, you're merging in and out of traffic, you're changing lanes on the freeway, you want quick throttle response, and you want this turbo to instantly spool. You don't have that laggy kind of feeling, you want it to ramp up instantly, and that's what I've received by using this tune. Another thing that has been amazing in this car is you can run ethanol in it. Straight ethanol, E85. Now, saying that, I've never done that. I know you guys may not understand that, but I have never run straight E85 in this car because integrated engineering has gotten every last bit of power out of it, out of like an E62, E63 level. So I'm telling you guys this now. I don't know that I've said it enough in my videos before. I have never run straight E85 in this vehicle, and I'm already running 11.2s at 122 miles an hour in the quarter mile. So to explain that, I've logged this car a lot. I'm a nerd at heart. It's what I do to make sure I get the most out of my cars. And I was playing with my ethanol percentage, dropping it from a higher level down. And I wanted to get to the lowest level of ethanol content I could to get as much performance as the car as I could. Because what you end up doing is with a higher ethanol percentage, you just stress your fuel system more. There's no benefits. Your car isn't performing any better. I'm not going any quicker. I'm not going any faster. The car's not making any more power. So I kept dropping that ethanol level to about an E62 level. And at E62, E61, I was right there. So right now my gauge shows E63. And I hover around E62, E63, E64. The car is working amazingly well. So yes, I blend my own ethanol. It is what it is. Not all of you are going to want to do that. But just know that you don't need to live near a gas station or a place that only offers pure E85. The blend is good from E60 to E85. The car will operate just fine. But I've really taken advantage of that lower ethanol content because the car still works extremely well at that lower content level. Now, with that said, I know gas mileage has been pretty crappy, but I have got that gas mileage a little better by running that lower ethanol content. So it's worked out rather well. E63, and I'm able to get the full amount of power out of this tune. So something that I see a lot on social media, something that I've been asked personally a lot via DMs, via all the platforms is, Adam, do you like your B8 more or do you like your B9 more? What's been the better experience? And that is an easy one. The B9 is so much quicker and so much faster as a stage 1 E85 car versus a stage 1 93 car, because to my knowledge, that's the quickest or the fastest file that they have for stage 1s, at least with integrated engineering. They don't offer an E30 or an E40 blend on a stage 1 tune. So when you're comparing, it's not directly apples to apples, but stage 1 93 in my B8, the quickest I went was an 11.80. And that was a really clean run. The same setup as this car, with basically like full bolt-ons without a downpipe upgrade. Now, I know cars are different. That would be test pipe upgrade for that one, but same idea, just different cars, turbocharged versus supercharged cars. This car, stage 1 E85, the best I've managed is an 11.21. So in the world of drag racing, an 11.8 to an 11.2, 6/10 is freaking huge. So I've been able to do that with almost the same setup, B8 to B9. All bolt-ons except for your test pipes or downpipe in this case. And the car has all the other bolt-ons. An intake, I had intake on both cars. Turbo inlet in this one, that's obviously a supercharger, you don't have that. What else do we have? Mid pipes, I had down pipes on that car. So virtually the same thing, lightweight wheels and tires, and so much better performance in the B9. Now, the other thing I'll compare between the cars is the way they drive and the enjoyability between those two cars. Now, the enjoyability of the B9 is so much better than the B8 as a daily driver, and it's very simple why that is. The majority of your power in this car, all that torque is really down low. If you guys haven't checked out my dyno videos, I highly suggest you do that as well. I will also put that link in the description below of the last time I was on the dyno to see what kind of power we made in this thing. But the power curve, there's so much torque down low. And while you're driving it around town, that's what you're using, is that torque down low. You're not flooring it, or you shouldn't be flooring it. You're not flooring it and trying to squeak out every last bit of power in the car, getting through the entire RPM range. You're chilling, and when you want to accelerate, your car's in those lower RPMs. You need that torque. That's what this car has. Huge amounts of torque down low. Now up top, the car does fall off a bit with this. Smaller turbocharger, not the largest, tons of horsepower, I think at about 5,400 RPM. Again, you can see that dyno video and check it out yourself. But with the B8, you had to wring that thing out. You wanted to get all the way up to 7,200 RPM every single time, because that's where the most amount of power was felt. It wasn't very torque heavy down low, so you had to really stretch its legs to enjoy the driving experience as much. Whereas in the B9, you don't have to do that nearly as much. So I touched on it a little earlier about the drivability, but something I need to touch on is the transmission and the way it works now. Now, that was probably the worst part of this car when I drove it stock, is the calibration on the transmission was just crap. Like when you first started in the day and your engine was cold, your transmission was cold, all your fluids were cold, it sucked. It was jittery and like, yeah, it felt like something was wrong with the car some days when it was cold out. Yes, I live in Vancouver, Canada, and we get to, forgive me guys in the States, I want to say about like -5 degrees Celsius. I'm not sure what that is Fahrenheit. I want to say like 28, 27. And it got pretty cold and it just drove like poo. And as soon as I tuned the car, that went away completely. The drivability of the transmission when it knows to shift, the smoothness of the shifts, everything is better. Back to that AMAX mode that I was talking about earlier that was a con, a pro with the AMAX enabled is this thing shifts really quickly. Now, I've always been a DSG guy since 2016, DSG, a dual clutch transmission. In my 2016 S3 and my 2018 RS3 and my 2012 Audi S4. This is the first true automatic transmission I've driven, I don't even know how many years, because before I got the DSGs, I was manual my entire life. Like since 16 years of age, I was driving a stick up until 2016. So long ass time. This ZF8 or ZF8 for those Americans watching, it is impressive with how well it shifts when AMAX is enabled. When it's not enabled, you get that fart, which a lot of people love. So when you're driving it around town, you get that noise. But when AMAX is enabled and you launch the car, it shifts rather quickly and rather aggressively. It's a very different type of feeling though. So with a DSG transmission, I'm used to that quick, short, and snappy gear change. Just bang, bang, bang through the gears. Whereas this is really aggressive and boom, boom when it shifts gears. Now, there is some drivetrain slop that I felt and have felt from day one. I don't know, again, that the average consumer would be able to feel it, but I installed the JXB Performance drive shaft carrier. That helped with some of the drivetrain slop by holding that drive shaft in place. And stay tuned to the channel, guys. I will be putting another item on the car to help with that as well. But the shifting is very different between this 8-speed automatic and a DSG. I must admit, I do like a dual clutch better. Feels like it shifts faster, snappier, more responsive, but for the daily drivability, it's tough because this is very smooth. Whereas a DSG is a bit more, I don't want to say jarring, but not as smooth. It's a bit more rough. I don't even want to say rough because once those cars are tuned, they're great too. But yeah, automatics, this ZF8 is in so many different cars, and that's for a reason, because it's smooth like butter when driving through traffic. With this tune on the car as well, it makes it even better. So what do I think of it in a nutshell? To summarize, it sucks the fuel mileage and it sucks the fourth gear falling out of AMAX, but all of the rest of it supersedes that. I am enjoying the amount of torque this car has as a daily driver. I'm enjoying the drivability, the smoothness of the shifting, the drivability of the transmission. It's so much peppier than my last car, the B8. You really, like I said, had to wring that out to get everything out of it, whereas this is just you give it a bit of gas and you're gone. It is a very, very well-sorted tune. The drivability is so much better. I can't say that enough. I can't stress that enough. Because people get their cars, these OEM B9s, are like, this car's awesome, it's so rad. It sucks! You won't realize it sucks until you tune your car with a stage 1 tune. Again, I'm speaking mostly from my E85 experience, stage 1 E85 tune, running E63 right now. But yeah, I imagine that with the 93, if I would have spent more and more time on that, I would have felt the exact same way. It just wouldn't have been as fast. That's pretty much the only thing that I can take away, because I spent very little time on the 93 and the E40. I think I raced once on both of those. I might have not even gone to the track on the 93. This year has been a blur. So yeah, there it is, guys. There's my summary of Integrated Engineering's Stage 1 software. I touched base on the TCU as well, so just so you guys know, when I'm talking about these tunes and during these reviews, I always tune both the ECU and the TCU, because you should never just tune one without the other. I know for some cars they don't make both, but you want to let the transmission know what's going on with the ECU and the engine. And if you don't let them speak the same language, there's some confusion. It's not nearly as an experience as when they're both matching. Yes, you can mismatch from one company to another's tunes, but I always like to stick with the ECU and TCU from the same company, because obviously they were tuned together to work harmoniously with one another. Thank you very, very much for watching, guys. Stay tuned, because what the hell am I gonna do now? I'm maxed out at stage 1 E85, and there's only one place to go now, and that's to stage 2. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Till next time, take care.